it is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and I've got a detailed weather forecast update coming your way for Wednesday, the 15th of October 2025. Heaps to get through today's weather update, plenty of thunderstorms across central Queensland, and a potential for a thunderstorm outbreak through southeast Queensland this weekend. Friday will bring thunderstorms to an expansive area through New South Wales, including Sydney and the Hunter region, and we're expecting widespread thunderstorm activity through the Northern Territory and WA as well. I'll talk about the rainfall as well across southeastern Australia at the end of this forecast update, but let's get stuck straight into things this morning. There's a whole lot to get through. If you're brand new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. But the areas to watch this morning is central Queensland around Charleville and Roma. Big thunderstorms are possible there this afternoon and this evening. However, there are a couple of catch-22s that I'm beginning to notice now in the forecast modelling. Just before we do get stuck into that, actually, I would just like to pause the image on last night. Have a look at how stormy it was through parts of northern Queensland, particularly into outback northern Queensland between Mount Isa across towards Huon. And we had this 1,000-kilometre line of storms extending from the Gulf of Carpentaria, Mornington Island, right down to Huon in north central Queensland. Very, very interesting that was for sure. And just a whole host of shower and thunderstorm activity. That's what we can get at this time of the year in outback Queensland. It happens every single year. In fact, it happens multiple times every single week, every single year in this part of Queensland, but it never fails to fascinate me. So let's get stuck straight into the actual forecast part of this forecast update. I apologise for that little detour this morning. We do have some thunderstorms expected through central Queensland this afternoon and this evening. They're expected to be quite sloppy ones, to be honest, considering we're already starting to see shower and thunderstorm activity blow up around Augathella particularly. That could hamper out some of the evaporation that we see, particularly around Augathella and Tambo throughout the course of today. And it looks like the forecast models are now beginning to pick up on that as well. So what we have right now developing in central Queensland is this cloud and rain shower activity, and that's happening right over the top of Augathella, which is going to prevent the ground from really heating up and prevent the evaporation from really producing these convective stacks that are going to be required for these thunderstorms, which is why the forecast models are not actually calling for much in the way of activity north of Augathella up towards Tambo until much later on this afternoon and this evening, because it looks like then we're going to have a couple of hours of the ground just warming up quite steadily. But yeah, definitely around Charleville, some big thunderstorms are possible this afternoon and this evening. It's probably going to be between Augathella and Injune where the most severe thunderstorms happen, with damaging winds and large hailstones up to 4 or even 5 centimetres in diameter. We'll see thunderstorms extending right out towards the east, down towards St. George, and then out towards Roma and Injune, and thunderstorms expected out towards outback southwestern Queensland as well for locations such as Addervale, Quilpie, Eromanga, even out towards Windora, and right across towards the South Australia Queensland border. A couple of thunderstorms are possible there later today and into tonight. Plenty of lightning, plenty of shower activity, plenty of storms to go around. It's going to be another cracker day out in central Queensland, and if you are chasing out there, another ripper chasing forecast. Pushing things forward towards Thursday, we do get an isolated thunderstorm outbreak down in towards the Queensland New South Wales border area, most likely south of Charleville, with a couple of thunderstorms, some of which could be severe between a line of Wyandra out towards St. George and then down to the border around Lightning Ridge on the New South Wales side of things. We may see some strong thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, but it's not looking overly favourable, the forecast at least. There is some good convective available potential energy values, but it looks like humidity is going to be the factor that holds these thunderstorms back, especially into the upper levels of the atmosphere. We don't really have that much in the way of humidity. There's a lot of dry air to be talking about through tomorrow. So I reckon if we do see thunderstorm activity through south central Queensland and north central New South Wales, will be very isolated in nature and not too much in the way of rainfall is expected. Now Friday brings a widespread outbreak of potentially severe thunderstorms right through New South Wales, particularly down in the Hunter region and around Sydney. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. It deserves its own part of the forecast update. However, later on Friday we may see some thunderstorms, especially some squally or rainy based thunderstorms similar to what blew through the northern suburbs of Brisbane on Sunday night into Monday morning, blow across the border in towards south central Queensland, extending east from Thallon through Goondiwindi and then out towards Wollongara and Warwick. These are the types of lines that have a lot of lightning activity in them, also some pretty heavy pockets of rainfall with large raindrops, and can have small hailstones, damaging winds and locally destructive wind gusts that come through. And this one's expected to come through very late on Friday night. Now the forecast models obviously cannot predict with any kind of reasonable accuracy more than about 6 hours out exactly what types of thunderstorms we're expecting, but they can get a very good idea of how big these thunderstorms are going to be and a general outlook of what thunderstorms we can expect. And it looks like the forecast models are all pointing towards a line of squalls moving through in towards southeastern Queensland. Not so much the Brisbane or the Gold Coast City area. It looks like they break apart before they get there. The Brisbane Dome in full swing by the looks of things by the time Saturday morning rolls around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. These thunderstorms definitely look like they're going to be quite squally in nature and could be severe in nature as well as they cross in towards the southeast corner of Queensland. Like I said, with damage into locally particularly destructive wind gusts, small hailstones, and some isolated pockets of heavy rainfall and some pretty intense lightning activity as well into very early Saturday morning. Saturday will bring more thunderstorms into the northeast of New South Wales, but it could also bring a thunderstorm outbreak into the southeast corner of Queensland. This is something we've been looking at quite closely over the last couple of days, and it looks like the forecast is now starting to become pretty robust for a potential thunderstorm or even severe thunderstorm outbreak into the Brisbane and the Gold Coast area through Saturday and into Sunday. So what's going to happen is we're going to see these thunderstorms develop into the Gold Coast hinterland through early Saturday afternoon. Most likely after about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to see these convective blowups occur between Warwick and the Gold Coast. So over Boonah, Beaudesert, then up towards Ipswich and Lowood, strong thunderstorms are possible through Saturday afternoon. We've got some very significant convective available potential energy values. It could just be a matter of how warm it's going to get. We will have some pretty high temperature values, especially into parts of southeast Queensland, such as Boonah and Beaudesert. Before the rainfall does kick up, you can see temperatures here into the early 30s. Even the Brisbane city area expecting a top of around 30 degrees. Gold Coast slightly cooler at 28 because of their coastal location, but that's going to be more than enough to get these thunderstorms going. And again, good mid-level humidity, good humidity coming through. We may still see some interference from some dry westerly winds coming through from the south or from south central Queensland, but it looks like it's going to be kind of a perfect kind of mix, an eclectic mix of all of the right conditions for this thunderstorm outbreak to really go nuts on Saturday. And it could be our first proper chance of seeing some really robust severe thunderstorms into the Brisbane or the Gold Coast area. It really does look like, though, Brisbane may miss out on these thunderstorms. They're either going to pass towards the west or towards the north, or they're going to go through the Gold Coast hinterland and then pass just towards the south of Brisbane. It looks like the Brisbane city area, for the most part, is actually going to dodge these thunderstorms and be quite protected from them, with these thunderstorms remaining a little bit further inland than up in towards the Sunshine Coast as the day drags on into more of a rain-based thunderstorm up here. But yeah, definitely looks like an interesting day for thunderstorms. Saturday now very much a day on my watch list, and it looks like we have, like I said, that first proper chance of strong severe thunderstorms into the Brisbane city area. I mean, the convective available potential energy values alone are enough to prop up a severe thunderstorm outbreak nearing on 2,000 joules per kilogram. That's some high numbers even for this time of the year. So I'm getting quite excited for Saturday. It definitely could be a good day for severe thunderstorm activity in towards southeastern Queensland. Again, I'm going to have more updates on this as the days draw on. By Friday, we'll definitely know exactly what to be expecting through southeast Queensland. There's no need to be panicking or preparing for this type of event right now. And again, even if we do see severe thunderstorms, it's not likely to be a wild outbreak like the one that we saw of Christmas 2023. I feel like every time severe thunderstorms do come onto the forecast, especially in the Brisbane and the Gold Coast area, people rush to automatically compare the thunderstorm outbreaks that are on the forecast, the one back in Christmas of 2023, which is quite an unfair comparison considering that was really a once-in-a-decade thunderstorm outbreak. It was an extreme one at that, moving through the southeast corners of Queensland. But this one here definitely looks like it could pack a punch, and a few strong thunderstorms most certainly possible. So this is your heads up to expect something coming through this weekend. Sunday will bring a return to the calmer conditions. We will likely see a thunderstorm or two along the Capricorn or the Fraser coastline. A very weak one at this time, it looks like, but temperatures will be warm enough, and once again it looks like a few showers coming through, which could turn thundery at times in the afternoon. And then moving things forward in towards next week, into the after the 20th of October, thunderstorms don't really make it onto the forecast until right out into about the 23rd, when a weak outbreak is possible once again into the northeast of New South Wales and potentially the southeast of Queensland. And that significant outbreak that we were looking at on the forecast models yesterday, that I was pretty hit and miss on, for the 24th of October, now looking quite unlikely at this point in time. There's no real forecast model conjecture on that. And it looks like big thunderstorms return towards the later parts of October. It'll be interesting to see if this does materialize on the forecast, but I have a feeling that the SSW event is going to throttle whatever moisture makes it in towards central and then on in towards eastern Australia. So I would like to say take the forecast at the end of October with a very heavy pinch of salt at this point in time. It looks like it's possible that we will see some rainfall and some storm activity into southeast Queensland, but around the Brisbane city area, and particularly along the border, it looks quite unlikely at this point in time with that SSW event filtering down in the atmosphere. Pulling things back to Friday now, that severe thunderstorm outbreak possible through central New South Wales, particularly around the Sydney area and into the Hunter region. What have I been saying? Well, over the last couple of days, I expect a reduction in severity on the forecast models, and we're seeing that pretty incrementally every single day. Another 20% reduction in expansiveness of these thunderstorms, and maybe even in the severity as well, particularly through the Hunter region. compared to yesterday's forecast, but we still definitely have a gnarly outbreak of storms possible through central New South Wales, affecting areas such as Parkes, Orange, Bathurst, Mudgee, Dubbo, Coolah, Muswellbrook, and then up towards Coonamble, Walgett, and Lightning Ridge as well. Some good thunderstorms are most certainly possible into early Friday afternoon and into early Friday evening. The Hunter region, definitely a wild card at this point in time. I would definitely be expecting some strong storms through the Hunter region, especially considering this time of year, but after about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then especially out to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, some strong storms definitely expected through the Hunter region, and some strong storms then expected after about 4 o'clock into the mid-north coast, developing north of Taree, right up towards Coffs Harbour and Grafton. Some strong thunderstorms are possible. Sydney will see some thundery showers pass through into the very early hours of the afternoon, most likely at around 10 or 11 o'clock. We're going to see some thunderstorms begin to develop through New South Wales, and these will carry over into the Sydney metro area after about midday out to about 2 or 3 o'clock before another round of thunderstorms is possible, especially into the southern suburbs of Sydney and then down towards Wollongong at about 7 or 8 o'clock into the afternoon and the evening. So definitely going to be a long day on Friday, expecting some significant thunderstorm activity to develop through New South Wales, and we could be seeing some very strong and potent severe thunderstorms at that. So definitely a day to watch very closely on Friday now. Getting quite excited for these thunderstorms, and if you do live in New South Wales, I do feel like this is something to be excited for, but definitely something to keep in the back of your head as something that could be quite significant and quite severe as well. I mean, especially considering the convective available potential energy values, we're seeing numbers into the 2500 realm now for central New South Wales. That will prop up a gnarly outbreak of severe thunderstorms and definitely will favour some large hailstones as well. And even into the Hunter region, a very favourable spot for thunderstorms at this time of the year, seeing these values jump up to around 2000, and then along the mid-north coastline as well, getting close to 2 or even 3000 into the later afternoon hours. Yeah, getting really close to 3000 actually. This is quite a concern at this point in time. We're definitely talking about the risk of some large to even giant hailstones through parts of the mid-north coast and the Hunter region through Friday afternoon, particularly between about 2 o'clock out to about 5 or 6 o'clock into the evening. The later on the day draws on, we're going to be seeing the chances increase through the mid-north coast. It's going to start off in the Hunter region and then head up into the mid-north coast region. So definitely a day to watch Friday now, something that I'm very, very interested in and watching very, very closely here on CyclonesOZ. And for further updates, then go on to check out the Facebook page as well. The support over there lately has been massively appreciated, so as well a massive thank you to everybody over there. We'll get back down in towards southeastern Australia, but thunderstorms are widespread through the Northern Territory and Western Australia, as you would expect at this time of the year. Not only is it a scorcher through parts of Western Australia, we're seeing these temperatures climb into the early 40s now, as we would expect for this time of the year, but we're seeing heaps of thunderstorm activity today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you name it. Thunderstorms expected to be left, right and centre through the top end of the Northern Territory, and especially as the weekend draws nearer, thunderstorms expected to be very widespread through Western Australia, and then thunderstorms return to the Northern Territory, especially down in towards the southern parts of the Northern Territory after around the 22nd or the 23rd of October. So interesting stuff there. Heaps of storm activity to be talking about, and potentially a weak tropical low on the forecast as well. We talked about this yesterday, but well offshore from Western Australia, particularly around the Cocos-Keeling Islands. Around this time of the year, we start to see some rumbles of activity on the long-range tropical cyclone forecasts, and that's exactly what we're seeing here into the top left-hand side of your screen. You can see a bit of a low pressure system spinning up here well offshore from the Cocos-Keeling Islands and extremely far away from the WA coastline, powered by that negative Indian Ocean dipole and the surge in the Baton Julian Oscillation, which is going to come in through late October. We will start to see some tropical signals begin to spin up here well offshore from Western Australia, and definitely something to be keeping an eye on at this point in time. No threat to the West Australian coastline, of course, and if anything does occur for the West Australian coastline, you bet I'll be the first to let you know, but also it's most likely to come into the form of some light showers at this time of the year. If we do see any kind of impacts from tropical low activity around Western Australia, it's going to be around that light shower type mark. Now we are seeing a few showers move through and towards South Australia, a couple of thunderstorms possible there throughout this afternoon and this evening. You can see them actually, they've been very widespread through Western Australia up into the Pilbara region. They're now going to move in towards South Australia through today. It's going to be another warm day through South Australia as well. The bad news is this is the type of rainfall that we expect to carry over in towards Victoria and New South Wales, especially at this time of the year. And whilst we do have a weak chance of some thunderstorms into the western half of Victoria through tomorrow afternoon and evening, it's going to be another warm day there. Mid-30s expected through the northern parts of Victoria. But you can see because of this SSW event and all that dry air now really filtering down into the upper atmosphere, and even some warmer air filtering down into the upper atmosphere, it's throttling any rainfall and storms that do get themselves onto the forecast. And I mean, this is the 20th of October, the forecast here. We had a lot more rainfall for the 20th of October just a couple of days ago, and this highlights my point very, very well that the rainfall is all getting reduced on the forecast. It's really being hammered down, and all of the moisture that's coming through in towards southeastern Australia, particularly for Victoria and the southern half of New South Wales, is being absolutely throttled, and it really is now beginning to look like quite a dire picture. Right out towards the end of the forecast, it does become a little bit more unreliable. There is some really good rainfall in the forecast, but if you're looking at the numerical models and not taking into account the SSW, you're getting your hopes up for nothing. This rainfall here is again very likely to be significantly reduced on the forecast modelling, and it only brings about 25 millimetres as well, and that's in its best case right now, 25 to 50 millimetres through Victoria, which is enough to help out the farmers in this part of Australia. But when we start to take into account that SSW is going to knock the teeth out of this weather system here that comes through at the end of October, we're likely to see much less rainfall coming through, and you can actually see falls over the next week into Victoria, even with that rainfall that's going to be coming through, are very, very sad. And again, this is definitely a best case scenario for rainfall. This is the maximum that's going to come through. Falls are likely to be a lot lighter than this, and some of the other forecast models are now really beginning to take that into account as well, with a big dry slot around the New South Wales-Victoria border. Anyways, that is going to do it for today's weather forecast update. Hoping for some good rainfall finally through southeastern Australia, but none unfortunately on the sites. Plenty of thunderstorms though for Queensland and New South Wales. And if you have found this video enjoyable or informative, then please do let me know in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. A special shout out, of course, to the channel sponsors, as their names are on screen right now. I could not run this show without them, and their support is, as always, massively appreciated. But that is going to be all from me today. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.